being able to learn from the things that have happened in the past and keeping them very fresh and accessing them for making new decisions has helped in taking better decisions. And nobody can answer what is the right thing for you to do other than yourself. The numbers show the potential of where we are going, where we already are, and how fast the growth has been. Because if you don't change, you will never be able to enjoy the journey which comes with it.
What was the one step you can say you have taken in your life which changed your perspective? Hi everyone. Today we are talking about reinventing renting in the UAE. As you know, and let's be honest, renting in the UAE is nothing like the rest of the world. While many places offer monthly payments, here you have 2, 3 or 4 post-dated checks. And if you have ever written one, you know it's practically an art. Recently, I was actually trying to write my rent checks, and it really takes time. But what if there was a smarter way? A digitized process, no more checks, no more upfront 6-month lumps. Just pay your rent like you pay your Netflix. Yes, I'm talking about Rentify, a new startup in Dubai. And today, I'm very lucky. I have with me the co-founder, Neil. Neil, thank you so much for joining me. I know you're busy.
Thank you for having me, Atasi. Good to be here.
My pleasure. Before we jump into the Rentify and how it works, I would like to go a bit back and know about yourself as your childhood, growing up, your upbringing. Was it strict? Was it chill? How was that?
My childhood or the early childhood is shaped a lot by, I think, influence of my grandfather. And my grandfather was, let's just say, a benevolent leader when it came to how he brought me up. There was all the love and everything that you would expect of a grandparent. But incidentally, he also happened to be the Director General of Police for the state that we lived in. And he was one of the first Indians from the IPS cadet who was recommended to go and train with the Stockholm Yard. So then he got back from there, and the childhood was a mix of a lot of loving, and it was always built around a regiment. I think a lot of influence of that came into my life, and only recently I've been able to piece together all of that to see how it has really shaped me.
Okay, great. So moving forward from there, then your teenage years, college, and then university. Yeah. How that shaped you?
When I was about 14, just about in my 10th grade or so, I got a scholarship to go and study in the US. And I'm talking back in the day when we didn't have the benefit of the internet to understand where we were going and what it really was, because your entire influence was everything that you saw in movies and people who came back and told you about what was happening there. Some of us remember those times. And at that point of time, not only did I go to the US, but actually ended up going to a part of the world which not many people travel, which is the absolute the Midwest of the country. And so what influenced me there was about being in a environment which was completely new, not only culturally but also within America, very different. And I think some of the most beautiful times I spent there was discovering nature and everything which was outdoors, because the Rocky Mountains were around. I took to all the outdoor activities from there, which has stayed with me all my life. From there, then I came back and I continued through my education, through my MBA, etc., back in India, and then went on to start working.
And then you moved to corporate ladder as a senior executive, and you spend a lot of time in that position. And from there, a jump towards the entrepreneurship. It's a high risk strategy. Was it a well thought plan, or You just said, okay, one day I had enough and I had to move on and I will do something. I have some ideas. So how that happened?
I think you start to discover a lot about your own self over a period of time once you look back. And when you're in the middle of it, you really probably don't know who you are. And I think that has happened with me once I look back. And through my really successful corporate career, working with many large global companies as well as Indian companies, I was always the person starting either a new technology division within the company or changing the direction of the company in adopting everything which was technology and digital to build businesses. It happened in the media sector where I worked with very large organizations. I worked in gaming, with kids, edutainment products, etc. And one fine day, just about the time COVID hit, I got a call from Dubai, from a company which wanted to build a very large streaming platform with an Arabic diaspora focus. And something made me, and I spoke to the founder of that company, and we interviewed completely on Zoom. And during COVID, I moved to Dubai and started working on building that project out, and then after that shifted to being an entrepreneur. So I think risk taking and looking at problems to solve and having a curiosity about doing things has something which has been very intrinsic part of me, which has shaped the decisions that I've taken.
Yeah, so it was well calculated risk, you can say, right?
It seems like now that it was really thought through. When you're in the middle of it, I don't think all the decisions you take are well calculated. I think you use your instinct and your better judgment to be able to take the things that you truly want to do. But I think what has been most important for me is that when I look back, being the corporate side of life, being the entrepreneur, I would not have a regret about any of the decisions I've taken, which kind of solidifies my self belief that the decisions I took were the best decisions that I took with the information available. And it's turned out beautifully. So I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I think that's the key. When you take any decision, or you're going solo, or you want to become an entrepreneurship, like you said, the information you get, make sure you're getting it right information, the right data. Okay, you process it, and then you take your decision, the next step. So on basis of that, the knowledge, the information, the data you have, I think it's probability that it will be the right decision. Okay, you never say always 100%, especially when you're going into the business world.
Yeah. Just a slight nuance there. I think the decisions that we take, we would benefit from, and what I have benefited from is creating a self learning organization within you. We talk about data sets and we talk about analytics and predictive analytics, and I think it also applies to us. And it's like when you're a child and when you touch something hot, you know it that your hands burn, and you, for your life, you don't need to relearn that. You've learned what you've learned. I think something that I have always tried to adopt is that being able to learn from the things that have happened in the past and keeping them very fresh and accessing them for making new decisions has helped in taking better decisions. None of the decisions can ever be perfect, because there are no perfect decisions. They're just decisions which exist. But being able to learn from the cause and effect of what has happened in your own life has been very important for me.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So then after a while comes the Rentify.
Right.
Okay. And how long it's been this new
We
startup?
started late last year and I exited my last startup earlier last year.
Okay.
It was a health tech startup which was created only for women. It's doing very well, headquartered out of Singapore and India, and it is doing really well. But yeah, time for me to be on a new journey had come.
So why Rentify? What makes you think that it's a gap in the market, right? Or no one is doing it? You are the first one. What was this whole idea behind it?
After I left my last startup, I think like a lot of corporate executives who become entrepreneurs and then want to see what is the next step to take, you have to go on a journey of discovery, of understanding what you want to do. The most easiest thing was to say, okay, let me go back to doing what I've done for a large part of my life, which is to go back to working and taking up a job and doing it. And on the other side, being a builder and an entrepreneur, there is something in you which says, I'm not done with my journey and there is something else that I need to do. And nobody can answer what is the right thing for you to do other than yourself. And I think that's the journey that I went in. And Tausif, actually, that's actually around the time that we also met the first time. And it was on my
Correct.
discovery period of where I just wanted to see, when 2021, 2022 AI came out in the way that it did. At my last organization that I set up, we were one of the first adopters of deep partnerships and building everything around it. Now in 2024, when I was looking at either building something new or doing something, I was looking at what has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. Let me try and take a stock of that. Number one. Number two, being in the, where probably I would argue one of the most activity and most innovation is happening, which is Dubai, is understanding what are people doing and what are they building out, and how do I look at myself in that space. That was one thing that I needed to only answer for myself. The second thing I was looking for is that over the next 20 years, we know many things will change, and 20 years is just a piece of time that I'm putting out, saying that in the near future, foreseeable future, many things will continue to change. What are the things which are central to the country, to the region, to us as people, which will not change, which will solve for a problem which is central? And that's where I started to zone down what was right in front of me, which was that property, and everything to do with property in all aspects of it would be something that goes back to the cave ages, where people needed a place to stay and they needed shelter and all of that has evolved, and we can have AI and we can have innovation and stuff, but you will need shelter. And even if you go and settle on another planet or you set up something, you will need shelter, and there will be a so that showed me that property was something that was going to be central. Now what could I do in it? And that's where the amazing magic happened, that I have been living in Dubai now for 6 years, and I have been a renter, and I have gone through exactly the kind of things that you spoke about many times over, every single time. But sometimes the most obvious problems are in front of you till the time comes and you say, okay, there is something here that I can do and I can solve. And that's how Rentify really happened.
Especially whoever moves new to the region, it's really difficult for the people, right? If you're on the salaried person,
Yeah.
right? You have a certain salary and you have to pay this deposit one, then you have to pay like 3 months or 6 months check in
Yeah.
advance. It's not an easy thing to do, right? So Rentify basically simplify everything.
Yeah.
It digitizes the system,
Yeah.
right? That's my understanding is.
Yes. So, and to add to your point, we have people writing in from across the world to us. Now that Rentify has been out and people know about it and everything, people writing from America, from India, from UK, saying, that we are now looking at moving in, and how can Rentify help us? So that problem is real, not only for the people staying in the country, but people who are now aware, either through people who tell them, who have come here before, and that this is how the rental system works and how Rentify can help them. What Rentify does is that once you decide on the apartment that you would like to rent, it acts as the digital platform that after you discover the property that you would like to stay in, everything else is manual currently as it exists. You exchange agreements on a WhatsApp, you kind of have the agent in between, you're chasing up, then you go sign the agreement, then you discover that you need to pay these bulk payments, so you need to write out the checks. And writing out for most of the salaried people, writing out 2 checks or 4 checks is a problem, because that money is either coming from your savings, it's coming as loans from somewhere, that whether somebody is giving you money for that, or it is you taking loan from somebody you need to turn to. Irrespective, it's a stress that creates in the whole system. That's what Rentify is solving, right from the agreement to the registration to working on paying the landlords upfront, but the tenants paying in equal installments over the next 12 months, like across the world, with very minimal charges over and above what the landlord is taking, is how Rentify has been built.
So the tenant has to still pay the deposit in the beginning?
Yes, the deposit
That's the same
yeah,
process,
that
yeah.
is between the landlord
Yeah.
and the tenant.
Yeah.
and that's the security which is there, and that's
Okay.
recorded on the agreements.
And then the monthly payments, which makes it really easy. How safe is the platform?
Well, the platform has two parts to the safety. One is as far as the identity and everything around is concerned, where we use technologies and platforms such as UAE Pass to authenticate. We use Emirates, the identity like Emirates ID, and then are doing it. So we don't store anything at our side. We use services to authenticate that. On the other side, when it comes to payments, we have payment partners who process the payment. There again, we don't store any of that information at our side, but work with world leading organizations which partner with us in solving for that. So we act as the platform which is facilitating the whole process, but at the same time work with the right technologies and partners to be powering up the needs of security and safety also.
Correct. As we were talking just before the cameras went on, you recently recorded the podcast with
This month when it is
So if I want to see a property which is available on a monthly rent basis,
right.
do I just go onto your website, or how do I see that?
Yeah, so at this point of time, you can't go and search because we don't want to be a listing platform.
so we will put the link there as well, and it's really good for the viewers who's watching this. It's in such a detailed one, and it's a really nice podcast. So anything about the Rentify in detail, if you want to see and how the system works, okay, from A to Z, the link will be there. So you can have a look in the detail and listen to that podcast. It's really nice. So going back to that, do you think it could be a multi-billion-dollar business in near future, in next few years, you think? Because you are the first one to start that.
We, we don't look at business in terms of what it will scale to, because inshallah it will scale to that. But I think we look at what percentage of the market problem are we solving, and what are our plans for creating this scale. When we look at our current platform, we have about 1.6 billion dirhams worth of property on the platform. We're adding about 6 or 7 billion as we speak right now, and that will go live. And we are just about getting started. I don't think it's in my nature to say we're going to be all of those numbers, but the numbers show the potential of where we are going, where we already are, and how fast the growth has been. Yes, if it solves the problem for 100% of everybody renting in UAE, we would love to be that platform. We are going from about 10.5 million people in the country to roughly around 13 million people over the next few years. Properties are being added. We are working very closely with both developers as well as property management companies to onboard their properties onto the platform. We work with very large landlords who have property holdings and want to simplify it, the whole process of it, as well as the cash flows associated with it. So we're working with them. So our intention is to be the platform to turn to for anybody who wants to rent in the country.
And anyone wants to need the further information, okay, and they want to join you as a landlord.
Yeah.
All the information is through website.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
go rentify.com.
Yeah.
We have a very simple way to reach us from there, and we pick up things from there to be able to answer everyone.
Okay, great. Just coming to my mind as we're talking through about the competition. Do you worry about the competitors? Let's say in next 6 months' time, someone is jumping in the market with similar idea.
When we look at the fintech space specifically, right? Fintechs by definition should not have existed. Fintechs came about because there was an inefficiency to what was happening in the market. Lending of money, collection of money, processing of payments is as old as the banking services existed. I think the fintech revolution happened because it was solving for specific pain points. If we look at every geography and we look at every segment of the fintech space, the winners have always been the companies which have solved right from the user experience to the customer service to the offering itself, not at one time but consistently. I think the competition that is in the market and coming in the market is great. It creates awareness. When I moved in 6 years back, there was no option available. Today there is an option of Rentify, and there will be other options for sure that will come into the market, which will be there. I think the onus is on us, just like in any other business. How good are we at understanding our customers? How good are we at solving those problems? And the customers reward you with their loyalty, not only for using the platform, but also being able to become your biggest brand ambassadors of how they experience here. And I think there's one thing that at Rentify that we believe in is that Rentify by itself should be the brand that makes them feel welcome, at home, and friendly enough to be wanting to interact with in the face of competition. And that's how really we have built Rentify out.
Yes, yes, yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's great. So you have done so many things in your career, right? As a corporate executive, tech entrepreneur, now Rentify, and so many things. What was the one step you can say you have taken in your life which changed your perspective or it changed your life? If you look back and you say, I'm glad I did that.
Deeply diving into the sense of curiosity. I think curiosity has something which, again, going back to your first question, which was an amazing question about what shaped my early childhood and what has continued, is that when as just about a teenager, you travel across continents to a completely new to a new culture, to a new location, to new geography, to new everything, and then you have to not only fit in, but you need to do well in where you are, because you are in the high school environment, which is very brutal for anyone. High school, kids can be the toughest kids to deal with, and especially when you come from a culture they don't understand. Being able to create an identity there and then go through all of life, building technology products when none existed, being at the forefront of everything which happened across the world in various parts of segment, whether it was the cloud adoption, gaming, streaming, edutainment, all of those things. I think what really got me, where I got, was this deep sense that I don't know, but I will find out. And then I will look for the right people to speak to the right kind of partners to work with, to create what is there. And I think that sense of curiosity and amazement of what possibilities lie out there has kept me in good stead everywhere, and it continues now. I don't think, we are just barely scratching the surface of what fintechs can do in this region. We are barely scratching the surface of what is the next level of ease that you can bring to renters in the region. And one thing we didn't speak about, Osif, is that amongst all of the solution, what we have also done is that we have made it very rewarding. So we have built what is arguably is the largest rewards platform, that for doing transactions on the platform, being able to pay your rent and other things on the platform, we reward the customers where they're able to use those points across hundreds of brands to be able to redeem that, and as they go through the year paying the rent, actually use the cash from what they pay on the platform to be able to subsidize their rent. So that's the other thing. So, and all of these are at a journey where all of them will grow, all of them will become strong. We have great partners who are coming on board because they see the power of what we are building. And what gets us there is that there is no roadmap for us. It just gets us to being curious about understanding the customer's problem, understanding what other businesses are doing and what we can imbibe, or sometimes just figuring out what could be the right way, and then sometimes doing things which have not been done, and that works out well.
Oh, that's really great. So this is a great incentive for the people who join the platform, right?
Absolutely.
As a tenants. Okay. So what message would you like to give someone who likes to follow you or follow anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur? And people have ideas, right? And most of us always not willing to take that first step for obvious reasons. What the family will say, the friends will say, or I'm afraid to do that, I'm not confident enough. There's obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to the person who would like to become an entrepreneur?
I think lots have been said about entrepreneurship and its journey. I think what is very unique about my journey is to go from being a successful and high ranking corporate executive to becoming an entrepreneur. Now, that is a very different journey. When you become an entrepreneur out of college, it's very different. When you leave a whole body of work and people and everything that you run, so to speak, and then become an entrepreneur, it's very different.
Correct.
And I would say the first advice, if you were to honestly ask me, is your life will change, and you have to be ready to change with that life, because if you don't change, you will never be able to enjoy the journey which comes with it. I'll talk about myself and how that changed for me, and maybe that is something which people can take away from it. Is that when you're a senior executive in large organizations, you take some things for granted, and a lot of them have to do with the kind of work you do, number one. Number two, your ability to lead a certain lifestyle, so to speak, which is associated with that, right? I mean, we can beat around the bush, but let's be honest, it's just about a regular large income that you draw on a monthly basis, which cushions you for life, and you plan about your savings, and you plan about all of that and stuff. That creates a life over a period of time. So you have bought houses, you have 2 holidays you take every year with your family, you do all of that, and then the kind of, so all of that, and those are great. I mean, those are great things to do. But when you become an entrepreneur from that, the first thing you realize is that those are not things that come as part of the perks of being an entrepreneur. And the dark secret is having persistence and the spirit and everything is great, but the dark secret is that you as a founder are only responsible for yourself, and nobody else is responsible for you. There is no organization to give you increments every year, to tell you great job done, and that for that we reward you with shares or an increase in salary or anything else. So you're responsible for how you lead your life. And when you realize that, what the amazing part is not coming to the terms that, okay, somebody is not taking care of you, you need to take care of yourself. The amazing part is it makes you understand what do you really value, and what do you really want, and not what you need. As you go through life, you start to become comfortable with assuming things that you need. I need a 5-bedroom house. Why do you need a 5-bedroom house? What will you do in the rooms that one is a study, one is this? Do you really need that? And then if you have a 5-bedroom house, then you need those many people to help you run it and stuff like that. I need 2 cars. Why do you need 2 cars? One is for going for dinner, one is for going there. Do you really need 2 cars, or can you Uber things? So you start to question everything, and that kind of starts to distill in you for me, it distilled a very deep sense of satisfaction to getting to the bottom of understanding what do I really value. And cutting one step ahead, so what do I really value? I value people. And for example, the conversation we are having, if you ask me what is the most fun thing that I do, the most fun thing that I do is to discuss and speak with people, know a little about them, know a little about myself, and maybe imagine what can be together, in business, in personal life, and everything else which is there. So for me, that is it. I would have never got here had I not gone through the journey of understanding what is valuable. For me, sports and activities and being outdoors is important. And that went through by saying that, okay, I don't have company events to go to. How do I meet people in a city like Dubai? And how do I interact with other people in this? And the easiest way is to pick up sports. So over the last 6 years, maybe there are about 4 sports that I've picked up, which I really enjoy. And that has made me some of the deepest friends around. So things like these are what you discover on this journey of going from being an executive to an entrepreneur.
So on this journey, do you believe that everyone needs a mentor, or have you looked up to someone in your early career times, right? Okay, or you had a mentor, or everyone needs a mentor. Some people say, I don't need the mentor, I can do it myself, and I have done it. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know the right answer for it, and I will not claim to know the right answer. I think there are things that you can learn in personal life and professional life from people who can guide you. and one must look at all kinds of help available and advice available to make those decisions. But eventually, one must also develop the muscle to be able to say, okay, I have accepted all of this input, but the decision that I take has to be something that I stand by and there's something that I believe in. Because the flip side of listening to and finding a mentor who you are always dependent on is that the responsibility is never yours. And it was that, oh, but I was told this advice, and you will go about saying, oh, maybe that mentor is not good, let me find a better mentor. Or maybe there's a different mentor, that this mentor does not get me. But when the decision is yours, it is your decision and you take the input for it. So for me, what has worked is to have some amazing people to speak to who I look up to, both personally and professionally and spiritually, all three of the ways that I look up at people. But at the same time, I don't pass off the burden of my decisions to somebody else, and I take those decisions, and that has worked for me.
Yeah, great. See, Neil, what's the takeaway from all this conversation from me? If I have to summarize it in one sentence, if you can provide a solution, a real solution to the problem, the city will embrace you, especially in this fast-moving city in Dubai. That's what I can see, and that's what have you done. You have done that, right? So thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Qasim. Thank you. It's been great speaking with you.
My pleasure. And to my viewers, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.